to help you understand how to show up as you. Um, let's identify your force so that you can embrace your force. And then to seize the power, because nobody can do it for you. No one can do it like you.
You are tuned in to the Money Script Podcast. Today we will share strategies to help you grow your financial literacy and improve your money script. I'll be back with some important announcements. Until then, enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Money Script Podcast. It's your host, Johannes Harrison. So happy to be with each and every one of you today. Shout out to all of our new listeners, subscribers, viewers that I met out in Nashville, Tennessee last week. Good to meet every single one of you. Hope we picked up some good nuggets from our talk and you're already implementing that into your practice. So for advisors listening, we were at the Altruist Conference. Great time. I was in Nash Vegas, I'm told is what it's called. I didn't know. I wasn't ready. For those of you viewing, you already see my guest for today. It is the amazing, the talented KJ Rose. How you doing, KJ?
Hello. Good morning.
Good. Well, it's morning. It's morning for you. It's actually tell you where she's calling from. Afternoon for me. Morning for her.
Yes.
Thank you for joining on the podcast, KJ. First, I got to put your business out there a little bit. We've been trying to do this for like 2 years ish. We have, but
2 is a stretch. But
2 is a stretch. One is some change.
But let me tell you about God's timing, though.
Tell me.
You cannot circumvent God's timing. So it was supposed to happen now. Who knows? 2 years ago, I might not have had nothing to talk about. But
you know what? You were waiting for Women's Month to circle back around. That's all it was. So we are it's international, right? It's an international holiday now. International Women's Month. I believe it's an International Women's Month. So thank you for being one of the beautiful women on the planet joining us on the podcast because it is International Women's Month. For our current topic today, I just want to give a shout out to another international female financial superstar, and that is the Sunda Brown Duckett. Ms. Duckett, I hope I said your name correctly. I do my best. I probably should have went and listened to somebody else say it. But she is the president and CEO of TIAA. So for those that are familiar, if you're a teacher, work in the private sector, you probably have your 401k or 403b through TIAA. And not only is she female, she's also Black. Look at that. Look at us representing. So shout out to all of the female leaders in finance. Keep doing what you do. Please attract more females into finance. We need you as a male in this space. We need you. The clients need you. The general public needs you. Please come and join us. If you have questions about that, let me know. But without any further ado, let's get to I had to write this down. She told me, she said, make sure you get it right. So KJ is an author, an empowerment speaker, and a global performance director. For those of you that know, you've seen her on TikTok, you've seen her on Instagram, you've seen her on Facebook, you've seen her on LinkedIn. Actually, I see her on LinkedIn a lot. That's kind of where I spend most of my time. Just revving up the crowd, getting them energized and excited. I see them chanting. I see them saying affirmations. It looks like something I want to be a part of. But then I look and I see the crowd and it's like all the women. I'm like, oh, that's why I didn't get an invite. So please, KJ, first, again, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and the Rose Effect.
Sure. Thank you for having me. You are invited to the next Rose Effect experience. So from the south side of Chicago, and, grew up as someone that enjoyed the arts and enjoyed performing with, ensembles, but never liked performing alone, never a solo artist, never a single orator, because my body just would have an adverse reaction. And there was just this level of stage fright, debilitating stage fright, that I did not know how to get rid of. And so while I enjoyed singing, I figured I would just do it as a hobby. And I was in 2 choirs in Chicago, the Soul Children of Chicago, Trinity United Church of Christ. I also had a choir, and I thought that would just be it. But then fast forward to FAMU, and
HBCU. Let's go.
yeah, and then being a chosen um, a woman of the Beta Alpha chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, I found that there was more of a need for performers, and so out of that need and out of the service, I said, well, let me just assert myself and just kind of complete that task. And it was always others that were pushing me and thrusting me ahead because they saw something that my belief had not quite caught up to. And so it wasn't until I moved, so doing all these Delta functions and singing, and then met a man by the name of Big John through a good friend, Shelly Kenny at the time. And so he worked at EMI, and they were like, well, John is in the music industry. And I was like, they were like, sing for him. And I'm like, I'm not a clown. I don't just sing on the spot. And then Big John Platt was like, well, I leave tomorrow. And I just was like, and I am tell. And I just started. He put me with my first management and
Okay.
Dave Nelson, Erskine Isaac, and they really believed and helped me cultivate my skills as a singer, as a performer. And there were just a lot of jumps that were made, and a lot of, I think early on, I was able to see the benefit of showing up, and not, kind of talking yourself, sunning yourself, softing yourself, as my little sister would say, saying, I'm just a soft singer, or, I'm just going to softly go in there. No, it's like, showing up got me the majority of my jobs. And so I sang on a song with Heavy D called Big Daddy, and I'm sure they were not looking for me. They were probably looking for Mary. But I showed up, took the cab from Brooklyn at 11 o'clock at night, and ended up becoming his single. And, I think it becomes kind of the proof of concept then is what everyone else hires you from. So then I sang on Big's album, Life After Death, Mace, and then sang with Carl
Whoa, whoa,
Thomas.
whoa, 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 whoa! I just learned something. Wait, you sang on Life After Death?
Yeah.
So I just celebrated. I celebrate March 9th every year. As in, I mean, yeah, I celebrate celebrate his life, and
Yeah.
I'll play his discography all day long.
Yeah.
So which track did I not know that you were on?
Play a hater.
Wow. That's awesome. Thank you for that. Can't wait to go listen to it again.
You're
Wow.
welcome.
Love it.
And then it became, this was a time where rappers were not singing their own hooks, so I sang on I did some work with Capone Noriega and Common and AZ
CNN Channel 10. What? Yes. All right. Okay.
and
I'm a hip hop head. I'm sorry. I just
yeah, so I did Days
okay.
for Dead Prez.
Oh,
I
Dead
did
Prez. Okay.
and they shout out, they went to FAMU. So did Common. I did Bet You Don't Know on AZ's album.
Oh,
And so yeah. Do we know each other? I
I
mean,
know, right? I mean, I knew you had credits, but I guess I just never dug into them. Like,
come on now.
man, I
Clients,
mean,
from which they have been, rooted and
wow.
no,
So that
you
means
got to know.
I'd probably listen to you at least once a week.
Yes.
At least. At least, because I have Common heavy in my rotation. Dead
Yeah.
Prez is heavy in my rotation. AZ, I probably only get about once a quarter every now and then. He doesn't have that big of a collection.
No. Yeah, do better. Get AZ.
Wow.
That's classic.
Wow.
So anyway, fast forward. I ended up on the road with Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson, some spot dates, some full tours. Britney was a full tour. And that's where I honed my skills as a performer. And then, put out my own album called the Rose Effect. It's called All Heart, No Regrets. And then, for me, it was more about completing the task, like all these years I've been waiting on somebody else to validate that I was good enough to have this, to have a record deal. And so it was more like, if you are a singer, then sing. If you are a writer, then write. So it was like really like pushing myself to believe before I asked for anyone else's belief. And then once I completed that assignment, I was like, okay, what's next? And, God just kind of dropped down the message that now I need to take all this information and pour into other people. And so that's how the Rose Effect as a performance consultancy began, where it was really helping people identify with their helping people to identify their personal star power, and acknowledge and go back and get some of the tools and the potential that merely was lying dormant. And so I always say that I don't give an artist anything that they don't already possess. My job is to push them beyond their perceived capacity. And so I declare that we're all artists. Whatever you do, it is unique to you. Wherever you spend the most time, that is your stage. And so we've got to make sure that we're telling compelling stories on every stage that we grace. And so that's how I kind of came in the trajectory of becoming a performance director, and working with execs and creatives of all disciplines.
Beautiful. So tell me, have you ever had a like 9 to 5 traditional like
Yeah,
sort of job?
I got my degree in business administration. So my very first corporate gig was with Pfizer Pharmaceuticals and corporate
Oh,
compensation. Yeah.
okay.
And then from
Okay.
there, I went to work for J Records. Clive Davis had a label under RCA. And so I worked there for a while. And then, yeah, so I think it helped that I had an understanding for, how this corporate world worked, right? Because most of my um, opportunities now come from the record labels. And so I have a sensibility for corporate. I speak the language of corporate when I go in to do my corporate speaking engagements. And so it's not lost on me kind of what they need in order to say yes. And then what that looks like in terms of my movement within the building, to further the yes.
So when you're working with an artist, since we're all artists, how do you what sort of, without giving everything away, I'm just curious, what sort of exercises or techniques, or how do you get that person to shine, to bring out that inner artist inside of it? Because you said we already have it inside of us, but a lot of us, we don't know. How are you able to tap into that?
Yeah. Well, it is a little bit of a formula that
Okay.
but I would say just
Patent pending.
but just something that I can share is that I work from three tenets, and that is to help you understand how to show up as you. Um, let's identify your force so that you can embrace your force, and then to seize the power, because nobody can do it for you. No one can do it like you. There's an intangible thing about you that that cannot be negotiated, that cannot be duplicated. Mine is energy. I have a reservoir of it. I will stand, toe to toe with you and deliver it. I cannot negotiate it by any means. And so yours could be kindness or compassion, whatever that thing is, that will help you to navigate how you are supposed to show up in this world. And it can change every day, but that really leads me in my assignment. And oftentimes, I consider myself this solid rocket booster, where my job is to help you course correct. And once you get in flight, it's like helping you understand the choices and the decisions that need to be made, in which direction that you go based on your own internal metric or rubric. But it is, once you get to that kind of, I would say, level of intensity, that level of velocity, then I break away so that you can then see how the work has sustained you and see that you can actually do this on your own. And so I always say that as a performance director, my job is to get you out of the blocks from a very cold start. I always run the first leg and then I pass the baton, so it's
Mm.
helping to kind of figure out, what is the narrative that you want to share? What are the things about you that you have dismissed, discounted, discredited? Let's go grab those things so you can reconcile that so nobody else has power over you when that surfaces. Let's get that, and then let's actually step into that and use that as one of your superpowers. So I believe that because I consider myself, a performance artist as well as an executive artist, that I speak the language and I know what it feels like to be in those spaces, where you don't have complete confidence, where you're still wrestling with this level of insecurity about how you want to project and be perceived in the world. So it is who I am, and it makes it a lot easier to do the work.
I love it. I love it. So where did the name, the Rose Effect, come from? What is the origin of the Rose Effect?
Well, Rose is my middle name, and I think did you know that? Did you know
I
that?
did. Come on, I'm interviewing here. I
I
am
know,
doing
but
something.
there's some tracks you didn't know. I just got to make sure. So Rose is my middle name, and I always thought that it was like it aged me, and I was like, "Now, what were you thinking, now?" And so when I got to a point where I would take meetings, having had a long stint as a background singer, and then people would identify me, kind of in this secondary position, which I'm very grateful for, because it helped me build the confidence and understand what it means to be 20 feet from stardom, and what it means to really cultivate a skill set. And so, but when I was ready to kind of take the next step, people would always identify me as Kiana, the background singer. And so I said, there's got to be a way that I can, even if it's for 10 minutes, um, cause them to believe that this is a new artist, or look at me differently. And so I was like, as much as I wrestled with Rose, I had to go back to what it really meant. And, to me, it was like, every day you're making a choice to rise. It's inherent. It's, you were born with it. Blooming is just what you were put here to do. And then I looked at the fact that my mom's name, her middle name, is Rosa. My paternal grandmother's name is Rose. My maternal grandmother's name is also Rosa. And so I was always meant to rise. And so the minute I could embrace it, it left me with this invincibility that, I had ancestors that were always planting me
Ooh.
in a position to always, bloom wildly. And so
Mm.
once I embraced it, then nothing was out of reach.
Something I love about roses, they are resilient
Yeah.
plants. I planted some rose bushes last year in front of our house. We ripped out everything we had and didn't really
Yeah.
like any of it. And I planted some rose bushes, and I did not cover them up when the frost came, and they were looking so sad. And I remember Alicia asked me, like, "Are the rose bushes going to be okay? We're going to need anything?" I was like, "I'm not worried about those rose bushes at all.
Don't be okay.
You should see them. They are, I mean, because this is usually, they say year 2, year 3 is when you really get a bush. You plant a twig, and then by the second, it was a little scrawny the first year, but this year, oh, it is bushes out there. Like, we have some probably 3-foot bushes that started off as a twig and a couple of stems. So I'm really excited for the flowers to come in this year. And it's amazing how they survived that. Once the frost hit them, they were yellow and brown. I just went and trimmed them back down
Oh,
to
you
those
gotta
little twigs, and
love on.
then poof, yeah,
We
there.
If there's a constant flow of love, and I don't know if we're considered perennial, but we should.
I think so. I mean, you survived the frost. I didn't have
Yeah.
to, yeah, you have to be perennial, because my parents had rose bushes in front of their house that were there
Yeah.
for 20 years.
Yeah.
Those rose bushes didn't go anywhere. I mean, you had to uproot them. The rose bush was like, "Nah, we here.
Yeah.
We ain't going nowhere." Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, I got plenty of cuts jumping the fence and hitting those rose bushes every year. Because after a few years, those thorns, they're like swords. They're just a little prickly when you go get the flower, but the ones on the base, oh, those thorns don't play. Those thorns don't play.
A
So
for everything you just said is very, like, yeah, a bit of a parenthetical.
yeah, when you think about it, because when you get, like you said, when you think about your roots, your base, those thorns don't play. Like, that's not going to be moved. Yeah, some of the stuff up there near the top, The
Yeah.
wind's going to blow that a little bit. Someone may come and snip a little flower here and there, but down there at the bottom, oh, now you're going to have to dig that out the ground.
Don't mess.
That's not.
Yeah.
Mhm. So what made you decide to become an author? What was the inspiration behind becoming an author, and how was that process of getting a book from in your head to on paper to Amazon?
Um, it did not stem from, me saying I've got so much information to share. Let me, put it out there. It was more so I had been doing workshops in Ireland and London and Australia, and I was not leaving them with anything tangible. I was basically like, I hope it works out, you know, and so I felt like God, definitely downloaded this idea of you've got to put together, a body of work that people can always refer to, a tangible body of work. And I was like, but I'm not an author, so I'll give a guide. A guide felt more palatable. And so I was like, Microsoft bought 600 books that said The Rose Effect, a guide to delivering the performance of your life. And then right around that time, the pandemic was starting. And so I never got a chance to go and do the workshop with them. But then some friends, shout out to Shaka and Adrian, who were like, well, why won't you just commit to the steps that it takes to deliver the performance of your life? And I was like, well, because if it doesn't work out, it's like, it's all on me. But like a guide is like, no harm, no foul. And so I was like, you know what, let me fully commit. And so I just went back in and just kind of tweaked some things. And, it was still with the trepidation. It wasn't in lieu of not being afraid of the judgment that came from,
Mhm.
myself, of who do you think you are? You're not this author, stay in your lane. And then that of others. And so the minute, I realized that God was saying, look, I didn't ask you to look at what the end result was going to be. I didn't ask you to go from 0 to 100. I just asked you to go from 0 to 1 and then plant another seed tomorrow and then watch that rise and then plant another seed, And so once I looked at it like that, and I said, even if one person was moved to see themselves differently or moved to activate, potential that they didn't know that they had, then I've won. And so once that became kind of the metric for which I moved, then that's how the book became, something that was tangible. And yeah, and then my friends Anton and Steve, really helped me to take this concept from just speaking of it, but also just moving in, making this a real thing. And a woman by the name of Myra helped me to proofread, and so yeah, it was it was something that I had to keep believing and making a choice to believe in every day.
Sounds like you had to show up, identify and embrace, and then seize your power.
See you. I see what you did there.
See what I did there? I did. That's it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything about your organization, about you. I am confident that we're going to have some listeners and some viewers that are going to want to learn more about you and about the book. So we'll make sure to put links to all of that in the show notes
Yeah.
so they can get copies. And I think I need to get a few copies.
Yeah.
I talked about it at some point and I just realized, wait, I was just thinking about my bookshelf back there. I was like, I can't even grab the book and hold it up. That's on me,
Yeah.
fail. So I feel like I need to go get a couple of copies of the book because I was looking at my bookshelf and I was like, wait, I don't even have the book. So please tell me you have a copy. I know you have a copy. There it is. Oh, look at that. Oh, dang, that's a real book.
It is a real book, and we're actually about to do another release of a new cover. So for Women's History Month. So it's coming.
Oh,
Stay
okay.
with.
So I'll wait to place an order
Yes.
to one that. Okay, got you.
Done. Done.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up, there is one last question that I have for you. And this is a question that we ask to all of our guests. Here at the Money Script, if this is your first time listening to the show, I am a financial advisor, CEO, and founder of Money Script Wealth Management. What I do is I help people make better decisions with their money. So it's all about aligning their values with their goals and their financial behaviors. And why the firm is called Money Script, it's a term that I picked up a couple decades ago. Actually, I kind of pulled it from Jay-Z. We'll talk about that another time. But the idea is that when you have a money script, it is how the thoughts and ideas and strategies around what money is and how it works was imprinted upon you at a very young age. Somebody's probably watching like, whoa, they came back from the break and they were in different spots. There, I switched it again. But it's how money was imprinted on you at a very young age. So we like to ask that question of all of our guests. So KJ, what is your first memory of money?
That it doesn't grow on trees.
That's someone told you that, didn't they?
My mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and if nothing else, it was to respect it. You know what I mean? And so I don't think that that's a bad thing, but I probably did kind of go overboard with like how I saw it, how I related to it, in terms of not taking a lot of risk with it, and also not asking for a lot of it in going after these new jobs and new opportunities. So there's like the value connected. There's this kind of like there's the overarching idea that you ask for what you know that you are worth. And so it's although I knew I was worth it, I was like still very much like, I'm sorry, if that's a lot, don't worry about it. This is the way I moved when I talked about it. I didn't move confidently, I didn't move boldly. And so once I believe that my understanding of it and how it is such a direct relationship to what I believe I deserve. Now that they're equal, I can stand and ask for it without feeling like I am doing something to you, or that you're going to have an adverse reaction to it. Now I do it without even like this, cringing of, asking permission to ask for it. This is it. Okay. Because now I know what I must do to prepare to give you the best I got.
Amen. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, I do want you to know that here at the Money Script Podcast, we have affirmed and fully believe that money does grow on trees.
Okay. Amen.
It does. But it's not necessarily the tree you plant in your backyard unless you're a farmer, because if you're an apple farmer, your money does grow on trees.
Okay.
My tree is what I call a referral tree. So my money does grow on trees because 97% of the clients that found me were referred by somebody else.
Yeah.
So that tree is that referral tree. And that, yes, the money grows. As I nurture the tree, feed it, water it, pour into my clients, they keep referring more people. So my money does grow on trees. But guess what? I was told the same thing as a child. That money doesn't grow on trees.
Amen.
But once I knew better, I started to accept and believe better. And now I firmly believe that money does grow on trees.
Amen.
Indeed. Well, again, KJ, thank you so much for joining us on the Money Script Podcast. Like you said, it was divine. It happened right on time. Today was the day. We had plenty to talk about. Listeners, I'm sure, and viewers, YouTube, I sometimes I do forget you're there, even though I'm staring into a camera. I just got to get used to YouTube also being a podcast hub. So for on the YouTube folks, yes, like, subscribe, set a reminder, ring a bell. I don't even know all the things you do on YouTube, but by you liking this, by you subscribing to it, by you subscribing on one of the podcasts so that you can get the updates, that also makes our podcast more available to other people. So if you want to do a friend a favor, or maybe even someone that you don't know, do a stranger a favor, show some love so more people can get their dose of financial literacy. So we will see you soon. Next guest I have coming up, again, it's Women's Month. So I've got Dr. Bryant is going to come talk to us. She's a doctor up in the Northeast, and we're going to talk about a lot of medical stuff. And also about being a female in the medical field, just like we talked about with Dr. Charles last week. So until then, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to get a dose of financial literacy, and we will see you next time. Take care.
All right. Bye.
I'm back. Wasn't that a great show? I hope you learned something. I know I did. Now, before you go trying anything you heard today, remember, it is not intended to be specific tax or legal advice. If you need that, go see a CPA or an attorney. If you would like any complimentary consultation with a knowledgeable advisor, visit moneyscript.com and schedule a 15-minute consultation. Want Johans to come speak at your next event? Go to the MoneyScript website for that too. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. MoneyScript Wealth Management is a registered financial advisory service in multiple states. Want to learn more? Get the full disclosure on our website, moneyscript.com.